So the Black Ops 6 weapon tuning went out yesterday, and on paper, as we mentioned, it changed a decent bit of weapons and a decent bit of the fundamentals for how weapons performed across multiple categories. So what's the best weaponry that you should be using now after these have been adjusted? Well, today I want to give you some of my picks for some of the best weapons I've found since this update yesterday. Perhaps early look at what could shape up to be a meta of sorts, though honestly I don't like that term really, but I just wanted to share with you what felt good to me with you in this video, so drop your thoughts as we go along. What do you think of any of these weapons? Anything that you would add or subtract for your top 10? Let me know. As well, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to stay up to date with all things Black Ops 6 and more FPS content as we chase down 700,000 subscribers. Also, looking to post more on the second channel, so if you want to subscribe over there for non-COD stuff as well, would love to have you. But for now, let's get into it. So for the weapon tuning and what it did, as a brief recap, most of the weapons in the rifles, SMGs, and LMG categories were adjusted in headshot damage and the modifiers of things like range, while others in the Krig were touched a bit more in a handful of areas. But how do they stack up? In no particular order, just the weapons I've been enjoying using. Let's start out with the AMES 85. Statistically speaking, it's actually got the lowest of the updated headshot multipliers, but the control on the recoil wise is just, it feels unreal after the visual update to this weapon. Like, it doesn't move at all. It's a fast firing laser pointer of a weapon that will beam players, and you got yourself a weapon that's pretty solid. For this, as with other weapon build videos we've done in the past, we'll give both a 5 attachment non-gunfighter build and an 8 attachment gunfighter build if you're at all interested. For the 5 attachments, I'll end up running the Kepler Microflex, the compensator, the reinforced barrel, extended mag 1 or 2. I go back and forth between the two. The reload differences are barely noticeable, so it's just a matter of, do you like having the extra couple of rounds each magazine affords in that step up, and then the balance stock. The 8 attachment gunfighter build that I'd recommend is the Kepler Microflex, the compensator, the reinforced or gain twist barrel. I've gone back and forth on the AMES in particular with both, prioritizing either bullet velocity with the gain twist or trying to get a little bit of a mixture of a balance with the reinforced, the vertical foregrip, or ranger if you want that extra mobility, extended mag 1 or 2 again, the quick draw grip, light stock since I have more attachments to work with for control, and then the recoil springs to give both vertical and horizontal recoil control. Honestly, having a ton of fun with the AMES. It's just a laser pointer of a weapon right now. The XM4 is all reliable still. You know my position on it. It hasn't changed since the beta. It's just one of the easiest weapons to pick up and use in my opinion. If you want to, you can kit it out to be an absolute laser pointer like the AMES with a little bit more power to it, or you can end up running it a bit more mobile. Or maybe you can end up doing a little bit of both. For me, I end up running the 5 attachments, the Kepler Microflex, the reinforced barrel, the vertical foregrip, the extended mag 1 or 2. For this, I've actually been playing around a lot more with the extended mag 2. I like that 60 round actually. And then the recoil springs for added control in recoil for horizontal and vertical. The 8 attachment, if I'm running gunfighter though, will be the Kepler Microflex. The compensator, personally, I still take this over the ported compensator because while it does help your first shot recoil, the ported compensator's horizontal recoil is a bit more exaggerated. That yes, you do get more vertical mitigation, but almost just transfers that to the horizontal in practice, even though not listed. Then the reinforced barrel, the ranger foregrip, or the vertical, I'll go back and forth, but sometimes with more time to get additional vertical control in the compensator and the recoil springs, sometimes I like to go with that ranger foregrip for the added movement speed, extended mag 1 or 2, commando grip, balance stock, and the recoil springs. Again, XM4 is absolutely all reliable. The PP919 is another weapon that is absolutely phenomenal before and after patch as well. It was already a great weapon, but with boosts to all of its ranges minus the minimum damage range, it's even a bit more lethal in the SMG category. Great mobility, great handling, solid damage for a pocket laser beam, just great fun to use. For the builds on this, 5 attachments, I'd recommend the compensator, reinforced barrel, quick draw grip, balance stock, and recoil springs. The 8 attachments, honestly, I don't even use the whole 8 because I don't mind the irons, but you can toss on an optic if you'd like. But for this, I end up running the compensator, reinforced barrel, fast mag 1, though if you don't like the loss of ammunition there, the speed on the fast mag versus base isn't really all that bad. It's just one of those things that, like, while I have the attachment option available and it's not going to cost me anything extra, I'll throw it on. The quick draw grip, balance stock, steady aim laser, and the recoil springs. Now, one that I've actually had a lot of fun with since the update was the AS Val. Now, this saw damage increases at various ranges, and it felt great beforehand, but I definitely can notice it now after this update as well, that it's just a ton of fun. It's going to shred through enemies, that fast fire rate, high damage. It's very easy to use and very easy to control with the right builds. For the 5 attachment builds, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, Suppressed Reinforced Barrel, Extended Mag 2, the Commando Grip, and the Recoil Springs. But if you have the Gunfighter 8 attachment build, it's so fun to play with. The Kepler Microflex, Suppressed Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag 2, Commando Grip, Combat Stock, and the Recoil Springs. Notably, again, only 7 attachments, but if you want to toss on a laser, you can. That's the 8th of the 8 attachments available for the AS-Val. I personally don't like having a laser visible from the hip on this build, just because I like to take it at a medium range, and so giving myself away isn't something that I really care about for the bonuses that it would end up giving in attributes. So the AS-Val, ton of fun to play with, have been having a blast with this since the update. But again, still was great beforehand. The Jackal PDW, well, that's the all reliable of the SMGs, and next up on our list. Surprisingly got a range buff and increased the base headshot multiplier, which is actually the best of the SMG category along with the C9 at now a 1.27 headshot multiplier. So it is something that does take one shot off if you end up hitting a headshot in there, which is greatly beneficial. So for classes, the 5 attachments, I'd end up recommending the Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Ergonomic Grip, Balance Stock, and the Recoil Springs or the overpressured ammunition. That one comes down to a little bit more preference. I think you can get away with the overpressured. It's not a whole ton of recoil on the Jackal to begin with, so Recoil Springs may just be something that is better suited in some other attachment, but it's just something that I like to run no matter what, that I'd recommend if you want to go back and forth. And the 8 attachments, the Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Extended Mag, Ergonomic Grip, Balance Stock, Steady Aim Laser, and the Recoil Springs. We've talked about the Jackal so many times before that I don't really know what else we really need to say. It's still a great weapon. You're still going to do well with it. The Krig is next up, and listen, the nerfs they made on paper seems pretty substantial, right? Like, it definitely got the most adjustments out of any of the weapons here that we had seen for Black Ops 6, but it's not nearly enough to detract from using this thing. It might be slightly worse than before, but slightly worse than the best gun in the game is still pretty dang good. So for this, I'd recommend the 5 attachments of the Kepler Microflex, Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, and the Commando Grip. While the 8 attachments, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, the Ported Compensator. I actually do notice a slight difference between this and the standard compensator on the Krig, the Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag, Commando Grip, Combat Stock, and Recoil Springs. The Krig still absolutely is a great option. The Model L is one that is, I think, kind of comparatively to the other ARs, not middle of the pack, but like it's just slightly above middle of the pack, but it's a lot of fun to use. It slows down the pace of play a little bit because it's got a slower rate of fire compared to the other ones we've talked about already. But if you can land your shots, it's a powerhouse. For this, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag, and Commando Grip. You can kind of tell where I'm going with these builds, right? Like, they're all relatively similar. 8 attachments, the Kepler Microflex, Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, Commando Grip, Light Stock, and the Recoil Springs. Now, the final 2 SMGs we'll talk about here at this, firstly, are the C9. This had its damage dropped, but the headshot multiplier is now the best of the base SMG multipliers, again, tied with what we just talked about in the Jackal PDW. But it had good damage range increases as well, so you kind of get that little bit of a balance on taking a little bit off, but extending those ranges a little further. So for these, I'd recommend the same builds we've talked about before. 5 attachments, Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, the Flip Mag, though I've been considering changing this recently because it's been getting me burned. It's not one of those things that at launch I had an issue with, but as of the last couple of weeks, I'd say, I definitely have noticed that like I'm running out of ammo at just the most inopportune times because I'm, getting the faster reload speed, but having a few less rounds could have gotten me a kill before having to reload. And then I'd run the Commando Grip on top of that. The 8 attachments, we end up throwing on the Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Flip Mag again, depending, Commando Grip, Balance Stock, Steady Aim Laser, and the Recoil Springs. The KSV is the other SMG that I think is worth using after this update, with a solid improvement to the headshot at base and also solid range improvements. For this, again, comparable to other builds, Compensator, Ranger Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, Commando Grip, and the Balance Stock, with the 8 attachments, adding the Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Extended Mag, Commando Grip, Balance Stock, Steady Aim Laser, and the Recoil Springs. So again, you kind of see where these are all kind of coming together. And then the final weapon we'll talk about is one that is still very good to use, but I feel like it's just, personally speaking, like I have to stress, personally speaking, not my cup of tea right now. I had a lot of fun with it at launch, but it's kind of like that Toy Story meme of like, I don't want to play with you anymore. That type of thing where it's a great option still, very good in damage, very good in headshot multiplier, but it's just one that for me, I haven't been using as much as the AK. For the 5 attachments on this, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, reinforced barrel, vertical foregrip, this with the added recoil of the AK by comparison to the XM4 or the Krig. I do find the vertical to be a bit more beneficial than something like the Ranger foregrip on this, the extended mag, and then the commando grip. The 8 attachments, I'd also end up throwing on the compensator, the balance stock, and the recoil springs on top of those 5 to give a bit more control and a bit more in that handling attribute. So that is the top 10 weapons that I would suggest here after update and the shakeup for the adjustments to all kinds of different weapon properties that we saw with yesterday's update. So that's going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of the top 10 list here that I pitched? Anything you'd add, subtract, feel free to. I mean, we're all here for the same reason, to try and use some weapons that are really good and fun to use, so feel free to pitch your list as well. For now though, if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it if you're new to the channel, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Black Ops 6 and even more. So I'd love to have you in the community. For now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.